Welcome to the LHON Community Update session of UMDF Mitochondrial Medicine 2021. I'm Lissa Pointsnow, LHON Program Chair and UMDF Ambassador. I'll be moderating this session along with Molly Garone, LHON Advocate. This session is brought to you thanks to our generous sponsors. Before we begin, a few things to keep in mind. Please turn off your video camera and mute your microphone upon entry. During the presentation, we ask that you keep your video camera off and remain muted. Molly will be posting relevant links in the chat box throughout the session. We encourage you to post your questions in the chat box. Following the presentation, there will be a live Q&A when you may turn your camera on if you wish. We ask that you remain muted and use the raise hand feature to indicate that you'd like to ask a question. We will respond in the chat box and/or during the live Q&A as time allows. Several of our LHON community leaders will describe their recent efforts to develop and grow the LHON community. Let's get started. I'm Lissa Pointsnow, and at each annual LHON conference, I've provided an update on the LHON community. Since there was no LHON conference in 2020 due to COVID, we have 2 years of updates to discuss. With a database of over 10,000 individuals, a global Facebook group with almost 5,000 members, and an email list with over 1,800 people, the LHON community continues to grow. The hub of connection for the global LHON community is this global LHON Facebook group. If you're not currently part of it, be sure to join. It gives you the ability to ask any questions about LHON and get feedback from 5,000 people with a connection to LHON, those affected, carriers, cited supporters, and more. If you're wondering about anything, you can just enter the topic in the search field. It's probably been discussed before. Or post your question and someone likely has the information you're seeking. Another way to be connected with what's happening in the LHON community is to receive LHON emails. If you're not currently receiving regular email updates about what's happening in the LHON community, be sure to get your current email address added to the list. You can register on the contact page of the LHON.org site, or send me an email via Facebook Messenger, or email me at lhonpoints@aol.com, and I can add you to the list or update an old address. As the community grows, so does awareness of LHON. Recently, LHON was featured on national TV on NBC's The Voice when Jesse DeSorcy of Rhode Island auditioned. Local TV often features individuals affected by LHON, such as Gus of Texas. And many in our community create videos and podcasts, such as Leah's Ability Mom videos of life as a blind mom. At the 2019 conference, I introduced and discussed this chart, which describes the many activities taking place within the LHON community. The goal was to let people know that there are many activities involved with sustaining a strong LHON community and that volunteers are needed in each area to sustain and grow the community. I'm pleased to report that over the past 2 years, the LHON volunteer team has expanded greatly. We now have significant activity underway in each of the 3 core areas of research and scientific efforts, education, and community collaboration. Our organizational strength has improved in financial resources, human resources, and infrastructure repository. And we continue to collaborate internationally. Let's look first at our research and scientific efforts. Just after this chart was discussed at our June 2019 conference, our research and scientific team launched in August 2019. Several of us who enjoy striving to understand the science side of LHON meet online for an hour each month. Prior to each meeting, we identify and read interesting LHON articles, which we then discuss during our monthly meeting, along with related topics of interest. If you happen to like that sort of thing, it's really quite interesting. I'd been reading LHON articles on my own since my son was affected in 2008 and find it much more fun and interesting to have others to discuss the articles with. As just one example, last year we read an article by a team of researchers in Germany who'd studied a small group of LHON patients and something called Charles-Bonnet syndrome. This led to a discussion with Dr. Karanja, who led this morning's science session. He and his research team are now conducting a larger online study on the same topic in order to leverage the size of this global LH1 community to develop more statistically significant data. If you're affected and have not yet completed the survey, please do so now, as the study is closing soon, and the more participants, the more reliable the results will be. Just contact me via Facebook Messenger or email at lh1points@aol.com, and I'll send you the link to the study. Or contact the study team in Canada working on this project at lhonstudy@gmail.com, and they can send it to you or collect data from you by phone. Molly Garone has been one of the research and scientific team members since it started a couple of years ago. Molly, could you please tell us a bit about the team from your perspective?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alyssa. It's been a pleasure to be part of the LH1 research and scientific team since its inception, and I especially enjoy recording the minutes for each of our meetings. It's really fun. I love reading and learning about the science behind LH1 and what research has been done, what's going on now, and brainstorming with team members about what could happen in the world of research in the future. Everybody brings a very unique and valuable perspective to the table. Each month, the conversations are fascinating and enlightening, and we've come up with a few ideas to help move LH1 research and innovation along. So please consider joining if you have an interest in LH1 science. We would love to have you.
Thanks, Molly. Another member of the team is Lisa, who's very involved with supporting all of our LH1 Plus families. If you were on the science session this morning, you heard a talk about LH1 Plus by Dr. Ann Chiarmorello. Lisa works closely with Dr. Chiarmorello as they collaborate to better understand the non-ocular symptoms experienced within our LH1 families. Lisa, could you talk a bit about the science team and your work with Dr. Chiarmorello and these projects?
I've really enjoyed working on the science team this past year and a half. It's been a great opportunity to work with other people in the LH1 community and have an opportunity to hear different perspectives of people trained in different backgrounds of science. Each person brings a different thoughts and interpretations of the research to the meeting, and it can be a lively meeting that brings a lot of collaboration with each other. I really enjoy reading scientific articles, especially trying to understand more about the non-ocular symptoms. It led me to reading one article that was written by Dr. Ann Chiarmorello, and I decided to reach out to her, which led to a lovely relationship between the two of us. And over these past 2 years, we've begun to do a research project on LH1 Plus and LH1 MS. About 2 years ago, we began the LH1 Plus LH1 MS survey. And from the survey that we developed, we began to invite qualified participants to visit with Dr. Ann Chiarmorello and Dr. Grotman to have a skin biopsy and have their skin fibroblasts sampled. And for the patients to have further evaluation with Dr. Grotman. The purpose of the study was to learn more about LH1 Plus and to see if the fibroblasts responded to a preclinical drug. The important thing about this was LH1 Plus is a very understudied disease, and it was really quite exciting to be able to have one of the first sort of collaboration projects happening between our actual group of LH1 Plus patients that we had started right from the very beginning to seeing it grow so that we were actually collaborating with a researcher. One of the difficulties, though, was we ran into the timing with COVID, where we ended up having to put a pause on the research for being able to recruit patients to the lab. And as a result, Dr. Chiarmorello was able to do what research she did have with the with the skin fibroblasts that she had collected and also with the survey results. And you will have heard them reported from her. But the other thing is she has decided that she will be trying to continue on with this this work going forward, starting in the summer. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue to recruit patients. What did happen though, because we did have the pause on COVID, we decided to pivot and do a COVID-19 and mitochondrial disease survey. And we were trying to address some of the things that hadn't been addressed in some of the other mitochondrial disease and COVID-19 surveys or studies for the community so far. This survey is currently running. It has been posted in our LH1 Plus Facebook group, and it'll be posted in the LH1 Facebook group, and it'll be shared in other mitochondrial groups as well. And we're hoping that as many people as possible can participate and share it with their family members. It is something that can be very helpful in understanding more about COVID-19 and the vaccinations for mitochondrial patients. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa, and thanks, Molly. Another way in which we develop relationships with the LHON research and science communities is by attending the annual meeting of the North American Neuro-Ophthalmology Society, NANOS. This year, the annual NANOS meeting was held virtually, so the LHON project had a virtual booth. As always, there are opportunities to discuss the LHON community and share what we do so they can refer new patients to join us. Over the years, we've supported various LHON researchers and research projects based on grant requests they've submitted that have been judged worthy of support. Going forward, we've decided to change the process. Rather than react to project proposals that are submitted, we intend to identify what the needs are overall, and only then to identify the most valuable projects to invest in. The first step in this project is to identify what we know, what we think we know, and what we don't know about LHON in terms of diagnosis, therapeutic development, and patient care. I've been collaborating with Dr. Phil Yeski, the Science and Alliance Officer of the UMDF, along with some LHON researchers and clinicians to develop this LHON roadmap. It will take some time, but once there is consensus around this roadmap, then we will identify what research will have the greatest impact on the LHON community. Of course, research costs money. Funding and resources are limited. To be able to give grants to advance LHON research, we will need to conduct LHON fundraising. The pace and success of that fundraising effort will define the amount of research we can support. Over the years, several community members have conducted fundraising events, such as bike rides, dinners in the dark, and much more. To really drive research forward, however, we need a team of people organizing fundraising for LHON in an ongoing, systematic way. If that's an area of interest for you, please contact me or Molly to explore what's needed and how you could get involved in that process. Turning now to our education efforts, the LHON.org website continues to be the hub of information about all aspects of LHON. In addition, we continue to identify and implement opportunities to create materials that educate the LHON community about various aspects of living with LHON. For instance, a team of volunteers met regularly over the course of a few months to discuss issues around navigating employment with LHON. We met, discussed, and identified what information is helpful and important to someone affected by LHON to maintain employment and how to find a new career opportunity. Based on those discussions, we created and published this valuable 4-page brochure that's available in the Living with LHON section of the LHON.org website. There's a group we belong to called Global Genes that supports organizations like ours that support communities working on rare genetic conditions. When I heard Global Genes was offering grants to support projects related to increasing financial literacy in rare communities, I sought a volunteer to lead such a project. If you attended Maria's LHON Journeys panel earlier today, you heard Jerry discuss being the spouse of someone affected by LHON. Jerry offered to lead the project. We collaborated with the UMDF, created and submitted a grant application, and received funding to develop educational materials about navigating the various financial aspects of LHON in California. This 36-page document now exists in hard copy and electronically. It's filled with information and resources for the California LHON community. We hope it can be a model or a template for other states to follow and create a similar document customized for each state. If being part of a team to gather information, write, edit, and format documents like these is the kind of project you might enjoy, please let Molly or me know. You may want to assist in developing materials we've considered, such as a document about family planning as an LHON carrier, or one about how to donate optic nerves. There's also a need for a document that explains LHON that you can easily share with your employer or teacher. Information about LHON and migraines and a booklet about genetic testing would be helpful, or you may have a topic of your own in mind. These projects take work, but it's fun, rewarding work. You get to collaborate with people with similar concerns, and the output brings value to the LHON community. While we did make progress in the areas of science and education, as I've just described, our greatest progress since the 2019 conference took place in the realm of increasing community collaboration. While COVID prevented us from having in-person LHON conferences in 2020 and 2021, it had the benefit of getting everyone around the globe comfortable with Zoom as a means of connecting. We took great advantage of that situation to create many opportunities for those in the LHON community to connect. Jessica Loomer has been leading our community collaboration efforts. You may have heard Jessica speak on our first Living with LHON panel at the 2014 LHON conference, or as one of our monthly LHON live call hosts. Jessica, could you please tell us a bit about yourself and about all of the exciting community collaborations taking place within the LHON community?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Lissa. My name is Jessica Loomer, and I've actually been affected with LHON about 9 years now, which time flies when you're having fun, surrounded by all these awesome people. So it's been quite the journey for sure. But I'm lucky enough to be on a call today with so many cool and fantastic community leaders, and really excited that every single day I get to talk to somebody with LHON or affected by LHON in some way, that it inspires me, it motivates me, and encourages me for so many things, for athletic reasons, for employment reasons, education reasons. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here. And so I'm super excited to be able to introduce to you today just some of our community leaders that we have here. We've had a busy year, and there's been so much that's been accomplished with all of our communities and regional development groups, affinity groups, and different things like that. So without further ado, I'm excited to be able to introduce you to some of them and encourage you to definitely jot some of this information down if it's part of your region that you'd want to get involved in, to definitely make sure to look into how you can get involved. Let's kick it off with LHON Live. I'll let Andy Marks kind of give a little intro, but Andy and I have been LHON Live hosts for, 7 years now. So excited to hear more about it. Andy?
Hey, Jessica. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I love the whole without further ado and then talk another minute. That's so typical of you, Jessica. So thank you. I had the pleasure of meeting Jessica back in the summer of 2014, the same day that picture that we all just saw was taken of Jessica in Pittsburgh. At the first conference that I attended and the first conference Jessica attended, first LHON conference, I should say. And we really quickly realized how meaningful it was to connect with other people who have LHON, who are affected by LHON. At that point in time, I hadn't met anyone else affected by LHON in person, and I don't think Jessica had really either, other than her brother. However, so in those days, we realized that we didn't know these people, but you immediately realize how much you share in common with other people affected by this very unique eye condition. And we wanted to somehow tap into those benefits and that connection throughout the year without having to go to Pittsburgh every month. So a couple months later, in August of 2014, Jessica and I, along with Maria, began hosting a monthly conference call called LHON Live. And we have held on doing that every month since August 2014. So we just had our 83rd call last month, and we will be having our 84th call on July 7th. So that will be the next call. Hope many of you can be there. We have several veteran callers who've been calling since that first year, but we also welcome new callers every month. each month we get together and we talk about new exciting topics in the LHON community. Sometimes that's news related. Sometimes that is related to questions that people have in the Facebook group where we're constantly pulling topics from. And sometimes it's something that someone brings up in the call. So really these calls are a way for us to get to know each other, connect, be there for each other when we need to, and learn from each other. I mean, some of the most powerful stories we have are really where people get to learn how other folks do things like cook in the kitchen, buy presents for each other at the holidays, whatever it may be. I think we've all learned countless things and met hundreds of other folks through these calls. So I hope you can be there at our next call. Again, that will be July 7th. They're always at 8 p.m. Eastern here in the US and 5 p.m. Pacific. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Oh, gosh, I look forward to that call every single Wednesday. So, or first Wednesday. So looking forward to it. And yeah, it's fantastic. But well, awesome. We'll keep kind of cruising through the United States. We have a couple of our regional leaders that have joined us as well. So I'm excited to be able to share just a few. And we'll start kind of way over on the west side. And I wanted to introduce you to Bob Banks from one of the California leaders. Bob?
Great. Thanks, Jessica. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for having me here. My name is Bob Banks. I've been a grateful member of this wonderful community for the last 6 years since I've been affected. I was very fortunate to be able to find this family and community of folks with our common condition, but you know, it's just great to be able to share our experience and strength together and move forward with in living with our condition. So I'm very grateful for that. A little bit about the California LHON community. So we started a while back. I think it's been just about a year, I think. We brought together, we started off with a committee of 6 individuals on our committee, and it just so happened to be where we have 3 from the north and 3 from the south. And I'd like to introduce you to those folks. Of course, there's myself, Bob Banks. We have Patrick Doolittle, who's also on the call. You hear from him in just a moment. We have Paul Lohr with his wife, Jerry, who often comes as well. Those are the 3 from Northern Cal. And it seems to be that the ladies are in the southern part of the state. And that's Scarlet Dreyfus and Maria Hayes Johnson, and of course, the one and only Lissa Poinsnow. So I couldn't do any of this without them, and as well as others that are involved with this committee that help drive the work forward. So what does the committee do? We get together, and our sole purpose is really to see what we can do to bring people with a common influence together, right? So we all bring to the table a common understanding of what our regions provide, because California, our services and how we access those services are different. So that's very important to share amongst us and amongst other LHON folks in the region, so that they can understand how to best access those to their advantage. And sometimes we just share information about how to live in LHON. I'll go through a couple topics in just a moment, but we really try and bring together a balance between the Northern Cal and Southern Cal parts of the state, because they're very different in some ways. And so we try and bring together that understanding and how to live with LHON with our own perspectives in mind. What we've done is we've tried to get behind a few initiatives with regard to outreach, as well as services and how to access those services. One of which Lissa had mentioned before, the Navigating LHON with Money in Mind. So that was a big one that was done essentially outside California, but it was with California support, et cetera. Another one is one that we did was outreach to neuro-ophthalmologists throughout the state of California. And what we did is developed a trifold pamphlet, as well as a cover letter to each of the neuro-ophthalmologists within the state, so if they have information at their fingertips if and when they do come across a newly affected individual. So we're going to continue to try and grow this community with outreach initiatives, as well as just bringing together folks for chit chat, talking about what's important. We meet every other month. and it's on a Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock. So be looking out for those invites on our Facebook page. We have a separate Facebook page for our California region. Some of the topics we've covered in the past have been living with LHON around your home, right? Whether it's assistive technology, devices, the Hey Siri, the Google Homes, etc. How to cook in the kitchen, smart devices and how those are best utilized. Some of it's a little presentation style. Some of it's just sharing our experiences with those devices. We also did have one topic that we talked about smoky situations, and those who are from California are very familiar with this because unfortunately we have had a number of very strong fires in the area, and we know also that smoke is not good for you. So we had Dr. K. He came and talked to our LHON community for the California group, and he gave us a lot of tips and things to look out for, about barbecuing and that kind of smoke versus candle smoke, et cetera, et cetera. Very helpful information that we were able to share with others. Our most recent one that we had a couple months ago was sports and activities, because as we know, folks in California are outgoing, they're always outside, the weather's great, and we talked through like how people ride bikes, how people go snow skiing and basketball and other activities. So a lot of fun things, and I think there's going to be a lot of great activities and topics moving forward. So with that, I'd like to just offer, if you have a desire to join our committee, please do. It's a wonderful committee. If you have topics and ideas that you'd like to drive forward, and if not, I'd really like to invite you to at least come in and visit our California Connect meeting and share your experience and strengths. Thank you very much. Back to you, Jessica.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bob. Well, we'll cruise a little north and head to the Pacific Northwest. Patrick?
Hi there. My name is Patrick Doolittle, and I am the leader of the Pacific Northwest community, which basically brings people together from Oregon, Washington, Western Idaho, and we're inviting people from British Columbia, Canada together too. I split my time between California and Oregon, so I was on Bob's California group, and I also lead the Pacific Northwest group. And the other members of the Pacific Northwest group are Jana Bourne and Ashley Trenkenshu. I'm moving to Oregon full time soon, so I'll be continuing to lead that group. And we do things that are similar to what the California group has done, which is we try and drive community engagement. We try and come up with topics to discuss on calls every other month. We meet, I believe it's the third Thursday every other month. And then we have, a Zoom /meetup /conference call where people can get together and talk about that topic, or just get together and connect, because sometimes, it's just good to talk to other people who have LHON. So we have, since we often follow the California calls by a month or so, we've had the benefit of stealing their topics and then discussing them. So we have also had a talk about wildfire smoke, since that can affect the Pacific Northwest as well. We've had a discussion about resources available to people in the Pacific Northwest, and people had good feedback and input on that topic. And then we've also just had meetings where it's just basically meetups where we can just introduce ourselves and talk about news of the day, whether it was how people were surviving COVID or what have you. So we would invite as well anyone who's in that region to join our calls. We're trying to get good attendance. We've had quite good attendance on our calls the last few Zoom meetups. So we like to get good attendance so we can get input from all kinds of people from different areas. So with that, I'll turn it back to Jessica.
Great. Thank you so much, Patrick. Wealth of knowledge from both of you, for sure. Kind of cruising right across the United States. We have Ian from New England. Ian, can you share a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm Ian Albreski. I've been affected for 4 years now, and I'm 20 years old. So the New England group, much like California and the Pacific Northwest, is just a great meeting place where people from a similar geographic region come and are able to share their stories about LHON. We try and start every meeting with the mission statement that my co-leader Howard Sumner wrote, which is our mission is to serve as a forum for the New England LHON community and to focus on supporting and sharing in order to help each other. It really, like, we've had a couple of like pre-meeting meetings where some of the regulars will email and say like, what should we talk about? But the great thing about our calls is they're so dynamic that we almost never stick to a topic. We often have new people join, and it has been just a great space to hear different people's stories and be able to share helpful information. There have been people who are affected. There are people who are not affected yet, but are carriers. There have been people from almost every state in New England who have joined the call, but definitely the mainstays are from Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. So if you're from Vermont, New Hampshire, or Maine, please, we'd love to have you. We're a little bit south heavy at the moment. But yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic to be able to talk with people. And there's such a variety of experiences in New England with different states having different programs. And pretty much everyone on the call has some experience with some form of like different services and different doctors. So it's just a wonderful resource. And we also meet every other month, usually the second Tuesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, we also have the New England LHON Facebook group. It's where you can find access to all of the calls, and we would love to see you there. So yeah, if you're from New England and would like to get more involved in the community, we'd love to talk with you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ian. As you can see, the community is growing, and it's so awesome to have these fantastic leaders and resources kind of right there in your back door. And this is only part of the region that we have. We also have Missouri and Kansas, Ohio, and Texas. So those are our current regions that are currently established, but we're always looking to increase regional leads and things like that. So maybe you're in a region that doesn't have a current leader or a community that's already built. We would love for you to step up and start a call. It's really easy. One of the best benefits and one of the things that I love doing each month is that I actually get to have a call with all of these community leaders, everyone, regional leaders, also community leaders that you'll hear from soon, coming up from affinity groups as well. And we all come together and kind of talk about what works, what doesn't. They're able to share ideas like Patrick and Bob do. We're able to kind of talk about different things that we found that's helpful, maybe documentation. Bob and Patrick talked about doing resources within their region, which of course is extremely helpful if you're just maybe being affected with LHON. To have a resource guide that's built from people that are within your region is extremely helpful. What doctor do you go to? What do you recommend? What bus line do you go to? Or what do you do? And just things that are commonly found in your own backyard. So that's been extremely helpful. So we started talking about it as community leaders together and kind of just brainstorm off of each other. So honestly, starting a new community and maybe starting up your own state, it's really not that hard when you have resources like the community leaders that we have on today. So definitely, if that's something that you're interested in, reach out to me. I'm happy to kind of chat with you through it, talk about it, and we'd love to have you and join our awesome group. So, and honestly, like the LHON community, that is what makes us rock solid, right? Like it's the community that we have here with each person within your region or your affinity groups or different things like that, being able to jump on to different Facebook groups with maybe your interests that you have. And that's honestly what really truly helps us be stronger together. So moving forward, I'd like to jump into affinity groups. Affinity groups to us are interest groups. So maybe it's sports, maybe it's education, maybe it's employment and things like that, where you're maybe looking for a question that you are looking for maybe an expert in that field that would be able to answer that question, or maybe someone that just has a strong passion for it. We have a couple leaders here today, just a few, to be able to kind of share additional information. The first one is employment. We have Zach Turner on the line that's able to kind of share with you a little bit about the employment call. Zach?
Thanks, Jessica. Welcome, everyone. Like Jessica said, my name's Zach Turner. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I was diagnosed about 5 years ago now with LHON. And I remember my first conference. I thought it was so beneficial, not just attending and meeting people in person, but I thought the connections made afterwards and staying in touch with everyone and just kind of continuing to talk and brainstorm and be curious, ask questions. I thought that was so beneficial. So I've been hosting the Navigating Employment call. We've been having it so far. We've had 4 calls so far, and the goal is to have about 4 a year. And I think it's been so beneficial. We've had individuals come on with different backgrounds, and I think the diversity is so key because we've had people join all across the country with different stages in their life, whether it's just graduating from college or starting a new job or interviewing. And we've had individuals like Abigail and Jeremy and Jason and Patrick and Jessica share their stories. And maybe some people can relate and they connect offline. And even this past year, with a lot of people working remotely, we've had someone come on that specializes in Zoom training and give us some tips and tricks on navigating Zoom or how to, certain shortcuts. And I thought that was so beneficial, as well as one instance I remember from the call was we had an HR professional volunteering, joining the call, and someone spoke up and said they have an interview in a few weeks, and they connected offline to go over some interview tips and tricks. And I just think it's been so beneficial to talk about whether it's adaptive technology, whether it's do I need to move to a city to be able to get accessibility features to get to work, or whether it's just like, hey, I want to start a new career path. Where do I start? And I think it's just a really cool network to continue to stay in touch and build upon that. So I hope I see some of you on the next call. We do have a Facebook group, Navigating Employment, where I'd love for you to join, share your story, and hopefully you can build a connection that way. So hope everyone has a great day, and kick it over back to Jessica.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Zach. Agreed. Such a good resource, and so many networking opportunities as well. So next up, I want to talk about education. Education obviously has been on the forefront of so many of our minds, especially being remote. And we have an awesome leader. Courtney, can you jump in and kind of share about your group? It's been great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jessica, and everyone else who has spoken before me. It's so inspiring to hear everyone's passion for this community. So my name is Courtney Dignan. I am a elementary special education teacher out of New Jersey, and I was affected 5 years ago during my freshman year of college. So I kind of bring a couple of different hats to the group as student who was affected, and now as an educator. I think the only hat I'm not wearing yet is as a parent of a group, but these are all the different hats you might see in our group, where we talk about navigating education from multiple different perspectives and all different types of education, whether it's preschool, whether it's public K-12 education, and then in the college setting, and how to access accommodations, what are reasonable accommodations, how do we go through fighting those accommodations, all of those sorts of things. So our group is located on Facebook, where you can pop down questions if it's like, hey, I'm looking for a school-friendly magnifying device, is everybody else using? Or whether it's more, I have an IEP crisis. This is not a 5-minute conversation, but I need support from the group of other parents who have gone through this. Our calls happen about once a season, so we hop onto Zoom lately for one in the fall, winter, spring, and summer. And those calls kind of change with the needs of the community. So every fall, we like to kick it off with, how can I start the school year, whether it's a semester in college or whether it's my child starting kindergarten? How do we start strong? What should we be doing? And then we kind of follow through with whatever the community needs at that given time. I think the most amazing part about these calls is similar to what some of the other leaders have said, where we start with a loose agenda. The most amazing information comes from these organic storytelling, where you just gain inspiration from somebody else fighting for some sort of an accommodation on a college setting, and it empowers you to do so yourself. So we're an awesome group where we learn from each other. We learn about different assistive technology that's available. other kinds of tips and tricks, whether it's mobility and orientation on a college campus, or whether it's how do I get my student to start advocating, or my child to start advocating for themselves. So I love how broad we go and how specific our stories get on how to solve these issues. It's an awesome group, especially if you're anything like me and education is your passion. So I hope everybody joins our next call. Our next call will happen in late August. So right around the start of college semesters and right around the start of the next academic school year. I can't even imagine what this year, especially with hybrid school, virtual school, in-person school would have looked like without this group. So I hope everybody finds the wonderful home I found at this group.
Oh, that's awesome. If anyone doesn't have the goosebumps by now by the passion that all these leaders have, like, I don't know, because this is how it is. And this is how awesome these leaders are. Next to kind of share is one of the co-leaders of the young adults and teens group. Molly, can you share a little bit about your group?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jessica. While everyone with LHON vision loss experiences many of the same challenges, teens and young adults who are affected also experience their own set of unique issues. Even more specifically, some issues that might come up for teens may not be as much of a challenge for young adults, and vice versa. There haven't been any dedicated support opportunities for either of these age groups before, so identifying that there was a need to fill in the gap, Lissa's son, Jeremy Poinsano, and I launched 2 events in March of this year that are exclusively for teens and young adults affected with LHON vision loss. These events were so successful that we decided to make them a regular thing. So far, we've hosted 2 teens events and 2 young adults events, and all 4 of them have been terrific. During these events, we keep things pretty casual. We start things off with introductions and an icebreaker, so we have a sense of who's on. We set some ground rules for the conversation, and then we spend most of our time together just talking and sharing experiences. We usually get together for about an hour and a half, but sometimes it's hard to get off the call at the end because the conversation is so lively. These events are wonderful opportunities for teens and young adults to both ask for support and feel rewarded in giving support to others. It's also a really good platform for young folks to share their concerns with their peers and also with leaders who are closer in age to them, when they might not feel as comfortable doing so on some of our other calls when those of all ages are present. We've had a really good time on all of these calls so far, and it's been really great to see some of the folks who were on the first events enthusiastically joining the second ones. I'm glad that we've set up these groups so that they're ready and waiting to help folks in these age ranges should they become affected. These events take place 1 week apart from each other, with teens always happening first and the young adults event 1 week later, and they both recur on a bi-monthly basis. Usually a few weeks before these events take place, we create Facebook events in the global Facebook group, and information about them is also included in the monthly email blasts from LHON.org. I also do a little bit of one-on-one outreach ahead of time, specifically reaching out to those who have indicated an interest in either joining one of these events themselves or have indicated that one of their loved ones is interested in joining. So if you or a loved one would like to be part of either the teens or the young adults events, please reach out to me or Jeremy Poinsano at any time, and we'll be sure to keep you on our list to notify ahead of the next events. There are also options for teens and young adults who need some support but might not be comfortable in a group setting. So if that's the case, please reach out as well, and we will be happy to help. We hope to see some of you at a future event. Thank you very much. Back to you, Jessica.
Oh, that's so awesome. What a cool group that you have going on. And yeah, I can only imagine how great that's everything that they learned from, for sure. Thanks so much, Molly and Jeremy. Next up to share is Scarlet. She has created some pretty awesome groups, especially in the midst of the pandemic, that I know have made such a difference on a lot of people. Scarlet, would you be willing to share a little bit about both of the groups you created?
Yes, thank you so much, Jessica. Speaking of the pandemic, last year, in the middle of a furlough, I got the blessing and opportunity to work alongside Lissa to develop some awesome happenings within the LHON community. And when we were brainstorming, we were talking about which ways can we serve the LHON community and what things am I passionate about. And I remember the first thing that I thought about was the experiences that women who carry an LHON mutation experience and how they are unique to women who carry that mutation. And those thoughts led to creating the LHON Sisterhood. Basically, it is a group for all women who carry an LHON mutation, whether you are affected or unaffected, because we both realize that there's a lot of unique feelings, a lot of unique experiences, a lot of unique emotions that apply to women who carry an LH1 mutation, whether you are unaffected or affected. And we wanted to create a community and a really safe space for women who carry this unique mutation, because it's not so easy to talk to another woman who does not carry an LH1 mutation and might not understand the feelings that we experience as carriers, whether unaffected or affected. So the purpose was to create a beautiful, safe space for women to connect, for women to share their experiences, for women to get support from one another, for women to get help from one another, to find a friend, and in essence, a sister within the LHON community. And it has really been a beautiful experience to connect with so many women in the LHON community and develop these relationships. We have a call on a bi-monthly basis, and it's usually the last Wednesday of every month at 5 p.m. Pacific time and 8 p.m. Eastern. And we don't record these calls because we like to honor the safe space of the sisterhood, so that members in the community can feel safe to express their feelings, their emotions, whatever thoughts they are going through their head or their hearts during those times. So we don't record those calls, but we do have Molly, who takes really awesome notes for us so that we can develop further connections and develop further information and resources for the community. We talk about every topic possible from, recently we had a awesome genetic counselor come and speak to the group to kind of provide some guidance for us. We talk about every topic imaginable for women who carry an LH1 mutation, from motherhood to how to be a friend to someone that's affected, you name it, we talk about it, and really thankful for that safe space that everyone has created. We are continuing on the bi-monthly basis. We just had a call, so we will have a call month after next. It's just been a really great experience to lead these calls alongside Lissa and alongside Molly. And we have a Facebook group page as well. And it is the LH1 Sisterhood. If you are on Facebook, please feel free to join. You do have a couple of questions to answer, just so that we can make sure that you do fit into the criteria of a woman who carries the LHON mutation. And yeah, we hope to see everybody there. It's a really, really great space to connect with other women who carry the mutation. And if you want a safe space to connect with anybody who is in a similar situation as you. And another group that Lissa and I created is a group for Spanish speakers. Another thing that kind of came to mind when I had more time to think about areas in the LH1 community that I am passionate about after my furlough was the topic of Spanish speakers. I personally am bilingual and speak Spanish, and I personally know a lot of Spanish speakers who are affected by LH1 or who are LH1 carriers who honestly don't know much about LH1 and don't know much about communicating about LH1 to their family members. So we created a call in February. It was a small attended call, but it did not change the warmth and the connection that was created in the call. And we hope to continue doing the call more so in the future. We are still working on the details of that and hoping to grow that community within the Spanish speaker community. If you or anyone you know is a Spanish speaker and would like to get involved, or has any questions or has any questions on how to get involved or how to get some resources in Spanish, please feel free to send myself a message or an email or Facebook message, whatever it may be, and we will definitely keep everyone posted on the new details for the Spanish-speaking community. Jessica, I'll throw it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scarlett. We'll definitely say the silver lining of your furlough was these development of these awesome groups. So we'll take that. And thank you so much. Next, I'd like to share some other groups. We have so much development going on in the LH1 community. And one of them is actually dads of affected LH1 kids of all ages. But my mom actually always tells me that I'm a kid no matter what, no matter how old I am. So I know these groups will definitely relate. Other groups that are found on Facebook as well are moms of LH1 kids affected at all ages, spouses of affected of LH1 people and cited supporters of LH1 as well. The Dad's Call is actually active and live, so please feel free to jump on Facebook and join for a call. And they are fantastic calls and some wonderful people, Jim and Tony, that lead those. So definitely feel free to be part of that. Also, the moms group cited supporters and spouses are not active on Zoom quite yet, but are active on Facebook. So if that's a group that you're looking to lead, we would love to have you. Also continuing on for our fantastic community, our interest groups that we have on Facebook. We have assistive technology, music, sports, and travel. These groups are actually just on Facebook at the moment, and there's not a lot of action. So if there's an interest that you have in one of these four, we would love for you to help be part of it, help grow the community, that especially sports or assistive technology. There's so many things to kind of talk about, learn, and share from each other. So please feel free to jump into one of these Facebook groups and share and help it grow. As you can see, there are so many fantastic community leaders that we have, and we're so thankful to have them. The community that we have is honestly what makes us such a tight-knit family. What's really important is that there's also so much for it to grow. So if there is an interest that you may have, or a group that maybe you'd want to jump and be part of and take a leadership role, we would love to have you. This group will only grow and flourish more with the more volunteers that we can get and the more people part of it. So please feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Molly, reach out to Lissa, and let us know what you would like to be part of, lead, grow, or maybe it's something new. But we're really excited and thankful for all of you being here. Thank you for being part of the community, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
We also have groups for people with symptoms above and beyond vision loss. Lisa, can you please tell us about these groups?
Sure. Our LH1 Plus community is a vibrant one on Facebook, and it now has over 1,100 members. It serves patients that have LHON and non-ocular symptoms, and patients that have LHON mutations and non-ocular symptoms. We also have a group for LHON MS patients that we have formed as well. We spend a lot of time supporting one another and providing education, directing each other to medical care to help to get people to mitochondrial disease doctors as well. We've been fortunate to find because we found the researcher, Dr. Ann Chiaramello, studying LH1 Plus, that some of the patients have been able to see Dr. Grootman as well. And that's been helpful for people to get further diagnoses. With the forming of the LH1 MS group, we've also been doing Zoom meetings, and that's been a lot of fun. It's been a smaller group of people. And if you have a diagnosis with LH1 MS, we encourage you to join this group. We'd love to have more of you be a part of it.
Thanks, Lisa. We've also started creating groups for those with very rare mutations. The hope is that by getting folks with rare mutations such as 13513, 3635, and 3394 connected, those families can perhaps focus on coincidences or similarities among them, and perhaps differences from other LHON mutations, and eventually be available and accessible if and when researchers around the world want to dig deeper into understanding these unusual LHON families. We continue to collaborate internationally whenever we can. It's obviously easiest with Canada for geographic proximity and time zone reasons. Not only does Lisa lead our efforts on LH1 Plus and LH1 MS, she lives in Canada and is a leader of the LH1 Canada group. Lisa, could you talk a bit about what's been happening in Canada?
Sure, I'd love to. We unfortunately were going to be hosting a conference this year, but with COVID that had a pause. So instead we pivoted to doing a number of online events. And one of the events that we did was an LH1 Canada party holiday open house. And that was a lot of fun. We had some people dressing up in Christmas hats and bringing holiday cheer, and it was just a great time to socialize. I could see it turning into an annual event really quite easily. Another thing that we did was we did a spotlight series on different people in our LH1 Canada community, where people took some time to basically do a video and tell their story. And we were really lucky to hear both David and Ethan give their stories of their LHON journey. And we had a few others that were submitted as well. And they were very well received by our community. And finally, just in this past month, we had Dr. Karangia organize with Kevin Boland they arranged for Dr. Patrick Wyman from Cambridge to do a presentation on gene therapy and LHON at the current state of play. And that was a great webinar, and it has been recorded and it will be posted. And when it is posted, I encourage everybody to watch it. There's lots of information to learn within it.
Thanks, Lisa. So as you can see, there's really lots that's going on in the LHON community, but it's a 100% volunteer effort. We really do need more people to get involved for the work to continue and for more work to be done. But hopefully you can see that it's fun work, and we all enjoy what we're doing, and hopefully you can consider if and how you might like to become more involved with the LHON community yourself. Perhaps you'd like to join some of the existing Facebook groups and Zoom events and get acquainted with folks in your area, or discuss topics of interest such as navigating education or employment. Or perhaps there isn't currently an active group in your state or region and you'd like to help get that organized and underway. Or maybe you'd like to initiate a group on a topic of interest, such as assistive technology, sports, music, etc., and pull together a team of folks with common interests. We also need people to help with organizational tasks, such as fundraising, database management, and communications. Whatever part of the process you enjoy, however much time you could give to the effort, please consider getting involved. Just contact me at lhonpoints@aol.com or via Facebook Messenger, or connect with Jessica or Molly or Lisa or any of the other LHON community leaders who've spoken today, and let's have a conversation. You may recall seeing this photo as the closing image back at our 2019 conference. We were at the time planning to meet in Phoenix in June of 2020, but of course, COVID got in the way. But 2022 is just around the corner, and we now plan to be there for the 2022 live and in-person LHON conference. Hopefully you've seen and heard enough today to realize that this is a fun group to be around virtually and even better in person. So hopefully you can join us in Phoenix in June of 2022 for our next in-person conference and become even more involved with the LHON community. We welcome all of your involvement and support. Thank you. All right. So if we have any questions, let's see, I don't know that I had any questions in the chat box to bring up, but if anyone has any questions, why don't you just take yourself off mute and ask away. And if we don't have questions, I will certainly say that the good news is that during the conversation, there were several people who were connecting with me during that presentation, and several people have been expressing an interest in getting more deeply involved in various areas. And so I've been capturing that information and we'll be in touch afterwards. But if anyone does have any questions or comments that you'd like to raise now or on anything that's come up today, feel free to come off, unmute yourself and ask away. I know we had some folks with LHON Plus who had questions, and Lisa here is our LHON Plus expert. So even if it's a little off topic, feel free to ask any questions about LHON Plus or any of the things we've talked about in this session or anything else about the LHON community.
I'll jump in. I was just going to say that's usually the way this stuff goes. No one wants to talk, everyone talk at once. This is Edward Nelson. I'm Liam Nelson's dad. I've made contact with Molly and you a couple of times, Alyssa. We actually, as always, we always have questions about so many things right now as we're pretty new into all this. But one of the things that is kind of more of a conference-wide sort of thing, we missed the Gen site information yesterday. So like anything that we missed from this conference, are the videos, can we watch like yesterday's videos and questions, from there?
You can. I'm not sure if yesterday's information has posted yet, but if you work your way back through the conference, go back to the main exhibit hall and go to the patient there. I'm not saying this clearly, sorry. So today is the 26th, but if you go to the 25th, it should show you what was happening, and then you should be able to get to it. So yes, all of that material should be available, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And then one other thing, my wife and I were sitting here talking, and I think that we, I don't know exactly how, but I think we might be interested in doing something along the line of the fundraising sort of thing. And I might be able to do things like in my school district, like dress down days, which is one of the ways we raise money in our school district for various causes. So I'll reach out to you via email for that and see if maybe I can figure something out for next year.
That'd be great. Yeah, it's definitely an area that needs some focused attention. There are other folks who have certainly done a little bit here and there, but we haven't really created a full-on group or a committee that's devoted to it. I hope that both yourself and maybe some other folks will raise their hand and say, I'm interested, and we can get a group together, because I think it's always easier when you have a team of folks working on it, sort of blend some skills, and hopefully we can get a fundraising committee going. So yes, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that, and we can talk more afterwards. Okay. Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I probably have a couple of questions, a little off topic, just more regarding the LHON Plus and the LHON MS. I know in one of the earlier sessions today, she kind of went over a difference of them based on maybe symptoms, but I'm still not certain of the difference.
So Dr. Caramello was describing that LHON and LHON-MS are on a spectrum. And if you think of it as a ruler, LHON would be at the 0 and LHON plus or LHON-MS would be at the opposite side of the ruler. And LHON plus would be sort of in the middle of the continuum. With LHON-MS, the key distinguishing factor for a patient is usually you'll find lesions on brain MRI, and that seems to be one of the big differences for the patients.
Okay. And with what you've seen so far from people, does it just continually get progressive, or does it ever go into somewhat of a stagnant state or so improve?
That's one thing that we just don't know yet, because literally the disease is really just in its infancy of studying it. The hopes is to do a natural history study, and by doing a natural history study, then we can start to see what the disease actually does. I mean, I've been the group leader now for 10 years, and I'm seeing some progression in people, but it doesn't seem like it's a drastic off the cliff progression for most people. But I think it also depends on what gene you have.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my sister's noticed some progression over the last year, and she was kind of curious of, does it continually get worse? And
yeah,
so,
yeah. And if you don't have a mitochondrial doctor involved, it's really important to get them involved as well, because sometimes there's things that you can be doing to be maybe mitigating it a little bit more. Sometimes a mitochondrial doctor will decide to put you on a thing called the vitamin cocktail as well. And the vitamin cocktail is some additional vitamins and minerals, and it may not stop the progression, but it may slow the progression. It's sort of one of those controversial topics, but it's definitely something to look into and see if you're suitable for it.
Okay. Yeah, and then I think we were in the LHON group, so we didn't get to catch the cannabis one. Have people seen a lot of success with that?
I don't know a lot about, I mean, they certainly talk about mitochondrial disease and cannabis, but I don't know a lot about it for LHON specifically. The only thing that I have heard specifically is they say whatever you do is don't smoke it.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the questions. Anyone else have a question they want to ask about anything at all?
Alyssa, there's a question in the chat.
Yep, sorry, I do see that now. Great. The question is if we could address how to join the science team talks and what to do for prep. Good question. How to join it is to ask. So let me get back to you, and we can talk more about it. What do you do for prep? What happens is it's just we try and pick some interesting articles and then send it to the team members a week or so prior to the next call. And then people read it if they have time, and they don't if they don't. And it's super loose and cash. And then we talk about it from different perspectives. And that's where we are so far. We have a lot more we want to do. There are just so many issues around the scientific side of things that, depending on who joins group and what they want to do and what their background is and how they approach it, that sort of impacts what the group can and will do. So thank you for asking the question, and I'm going to contact you afterwards and we can talk about it. But anyone who is interested in the science group, please just contact me directly and let's just talk about it and see if it's like everything else with this community, things are evolving. And so what people bring to the community changes where it goes. So we'll have that conversation. There's another question here asking, for those for whom Arizona might be too far a trip, any idea what plans might be in process for 2023, mid-USA or East Coast? Yeah, actually, so lost on years now. The 2020 conference was supposed to have been in Phoenix, and they pushed it out 2 years because 2021 was supposed to have been in Charlotte. And then when Charlotte's time came around, that had to get pushed out 2 years. So they've leapfrogged. So yeah, it'll be Phoenix, and then the following year we'll be in Charlotte. Maria, did you want to talk a little bit about what the experience is of going to a conference in person? Or is there anyone who's been to a conference in the past that would like to just talk a little bit about what a conference is like in person?
I'll kick it off. I just thought it would be nice to have anyone who has gone to a conference in the past to speak up and to reiterate how great they are to attend. We haven't been able to be together in 2 years. I've been going to the conference since 2014, been in effect in almost 8 years. And my first conference just blew me away. And it was smaller at the time. It's just grown every year. There's a few more people and a few more affected folks who attend. But when you are going there as an affected person, because that's what I can speak to, you find that you have another family. and you make connections and bonds that you just can't make with anybody else. The other affected folks that are there, it's the largest gathering of affected people that you'll find, at least in the States when we do the conference. They become like brothers and sisters, and it's just an unspoken bond that you can't really describe. And I still am in touch with many of them through these years. And it's just so great to actually put I'm saying this, but a face to a name, although we can't really see faces, but, to have that in-person contact and communication with people, there's just nothing that takes its place. And I've also heard from folks who are, and maybe someone can speak of it, who go as family members who also connect with maybe other spouses, siblings, sometimes it's adult children, connect together and go, yeah, I get it, you get it, we get it, whatever their position is in the family. And sometimes even loved ones, friends also attend as well, who just want a better understanding about what's affected their friend or their friend's family. So I can't tell you enough. And I would love a couple other people to speak up too about how great it is to actually meet these people, who not only the people who spoke today, but everyone else in the community who's able to make it in person. It's like no other experience you'll ever have. And I guarantee you will go to a conference every year if possible after you go. People do make it their summer vacations now. So I encourage everyone to go.
Karen, can I get you to speak on that topic for a second there?
As a carrier, non-affected, the mom of an adult who was affected and the child of a mama who was affected, it was just like finding an extended family that I didn't know I had. As Maria said, it's putting names with faces. It makes the bonds then that we share through social media and other ways of being in touch one-on-one that much stronger. There's so much to learn. You really do feel like you're drinking from a fire hose a lot of the time with LHON. And this is a chance to sort of slow down and see it in real life and see that there are other people facing these same challenges and overcoming them. But also that there are people who are struggling that you might be able to help based on your own experience. I have found the two that I have been to great, and I have so missed the last 2 years, especially this year as we're all sort of beginning to get together again, and I have missed seeing my family.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, if anyone else wants to either speak about that or any other topic, again, we have the correct time to end the session is passed, and so there's no specific topic at this point. If there's just anything anyone wants to say or ask, you've certainly got a good group of people here to bring anything up. So feel free if you'd like.
Hi, this is Robin. I could just echo what Karen's and Maria had said. My first was in 2014 when my son, who at the time was 16, became affected. And it certainly is. It's just like finding that extended family and just the wealth of information that you receive and are able to get to help support you. And your journey as either a supporter, a mom, or, just in how you can support your family member who's affected. And so it's been good. I've brought my mom and my mother-in-law with me, and it's, I think, helped them as well. They're on the call, and just how we can all support each other in this really uncharted journey that, many of us did not expect to go through. And so I cannot say enough good things about it. And certainly the lasting connections that you make. And as somebody who studies mental health, and I think that it's really good essentially just for everyone's mental health and ways to support each other and find different mechanisms for supporting each other. And there's so many different ways to support each other. So I just love going to the conference and getting all of the scientific information and updates from others, as well as just thinking through how to kind of continue to the next conference. So can't speak enough highly about it.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for that. Anyone have any last words or questions, comments?
See you in Phoenix.
There you go. Those are great closing words. All right. Well, thanks everyone. It's been a great morning. Appreciate everyone's participation and really enjoyed this morning. Hope you did too. And if you missed any parts of it, we'll be posting about and emailing about the recording. So thanks everyone. And yeah, see you soon.